We are
Melanated Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Sarah, and I'm here tonight with my co-hosts.
I'm Kay. And I'm Karen. And tonight we're going to talk about dating in our 40s. I suppose specifically women dating in their 40s. So I separated from my husband some time ago and thought about entering the dating scene again. And I found it really difficult initially because I think originally people would go to barbecues or they might be invited round to a friend's house and you might meet someone, get chatting, that kind of organic meeting. But actually, as I've got older, I found that people don't necessarily socialize in the same way. And it became apparent that it was going to be quite difficult to meet people. So I've got friends who talked about online dating. And I have to say, I've never been a fan of online dating, Tinder and the like. And I've always wanted to meet someone organically, but that became really difficult. And then I started to look at stats, thinking about, the ratio of men to women. And actually, we do outnumber men. So I suppose specifically from the point of view of a Black woman of a certain age, as I say, we are in our 40s, how easy has it been to date? Just to meet people, to date. And also, what are we looking for, ladies, in a man? What are we looking for in a partner? Do we have a checklist, a criteria that they need to match? And what are men looking for? Do men have a criteria that they need to meet? So that's what I'm thinking about tonight, ladies, and I want to know your thoughts. I'm going to ask Sarah. Yeah. What do you think?
My thoughts. Okay, so I met my child's father when I was in my early 20s, and I was with him until my mid-30s, so a bit more than that, actually. I'm now just 40, so I've just turned 40, and so that was a 13-year relationship. So I was out of the dating game for a very long time. And when that relationship ended, I was single for a little bit and I kind of entered the dating world. And I actually did use Tinder. Told the girls I did use Tinder. It was actually in lockdown. And it was actually, I have to say, it was actually a real confidence booster for me, because I know people have a lot of things to say about Tinder. And it was all the things people say. But the good thing was, for me, I found, as a, obviously I was a newly single woman, out of the game for 13 years, it was a real confidence booster, I guess, to know that there were people interested, even if it wasn't kind of, I don't know the word is, it was a bit dodgy, put it that way. It was, I think, nice to know at that point as a single woman that other people were interested in. Because it was lockdown as well, it was quite good because I never met any of these people. So it was all kind of, conversations and stuff via the app. Some of the conversations, I honestly, they got me through lockdown. It was hilarious. I've chatted to both Karen and Kay and also to some of my other friends during the boring old lockdown days about some of these absolutely crazy people. Thank God. I mean, I would never meet someone that is this mad, but I had some really funny messages on Tinder. And it kind of just, I guess it kind of cheered me up as a newly single woman, and made me laugh and made me feel like, wow, actually, you know what, there is a lot of people interested. And I have to say, I do actually think it can be a massive confidence boost, not going out to meeting all these people, but actually sitting back and looking at, if you're a single woman, especially, if you're freshly out of a very long-term relationship or marriage, to actually think, wow, this is actually quite a lot of people actually that will be interested in, okay, I know that you think be interested in only one thing. And I'd say, yeah, I'd say 95% are just interested in one thing, but it's still a massive confidence boost. And actually, I then met my current long-term partner through Tinder, believe it or not. So it was definitely worth it. But I think had I not been in lockdown, I think I might have found kind of dating, I guess, in my 40s quite complex. And the grace of it being lockdown, as I've said, is I didn't have to meet any of these people. So I could kind of, have these conversations and leave them to it. But yeah, I think also another thing I didn't realise is I didn't realise that anybody would ever love me again. I said this to Karen and Kay when we had dinner. I really honestly thought in a long-term relationship that was kind of going south at that point, I honestly thought that no man would ever, ever, ever love me ever again. And when my partner told me he loved me and showed me he loved me, now it's like, wow, somebody else actually is in love with me. Wow, someone else actually loves me. But I never thought that would be the case. And I think a lot of women in long-term relationships where maybe they're not fulfilled can have a feeling that there's only one person here, they're the only person I'll ever love and the only person will ever love me. But I think actually there are many the ones for people. We go through life, there's many different opportunities. And if you're in a relationship that is unfulfilling, don't stay in it because you think that's the only person for you, because you know what, there is somebody else out there that will love you. There really is, so that's one thing I learned from it. And I think also being a 40-year-old woman now, I kind of set the bar for my relationship now. So right at the start of the relationship, I actually said, okay, I'm looking for a long-term relationship. And I'm looking for this and I'm looking for that. And my partner now was looking for exactly the same thing. So I wasn't going to go for someone that wasn't. So that's something I've learned, I think, as a 40-year-old woman. That's something that I probably wouldn't have stipulated, say, in my 20s. So, yeah, I actually found it it was a funny experience because obviously I was in lockdown, as I said. But, it was, I'm a lot more mature in my thinking towards my relationship now being 40 versus when I was like in my early 20s and stuff. And as for a checklist, yeah, I do have a checklist. I think it's important for people to have some kind of checklist. There's some things I won't budge on, things like cleanliness. I will not budge on that. Things like someone being intelligent, educated, and they don't have to have a degree or something, but they have to have some kind of nous in their head. They've got to have intelligence. They've got to have a sense of humour. They've got to, have a drive for life and want more for themselves and be self-sufficient. And someone that has goals. And also, obviously, be a good parent. I couldn't be with someone that wasn't a good parent. Ideally, I wanted to meet someone that had their own children, so I wouldn't have someone think, "Oh, I don't know how to be a dad." No time for that. I'm 40. I have a child. I'm not having anyone having a crisis about that. So yeah, I think stipulating what you want when you're an older person is important. But yeah, so I actually had quite a few life lessons that I've learned dating in my 40s. So, Kay, tell us about your thoughts and experiences on this, please.
Sure. Similar to you and Karen, I was in a long-term, I was married at 21. So when I became single in my mid-30s, I had been out of the dating game for a long time and had a lot of additional interest when I was married. So I thought it would be quite easy to meet someone after I got separated and then divorced, and it wasn't. I remember doing the online dating thing maybe between 2012 and 2014. I tried quite a few dating sites, and it's a special kind of hell, really, for me, because you're getting to know someone from scratch, and it can be quite messy. I had a few dates, and some of them were really good, and I had a couple maybe on-off relationships. But I struggled with the transient nature of dating sites where, for me, if I'm interested in someone, I'm focused. But for a man, he could be talking to 3-4 women at the same time, and he's dating all of us. And he has so many options that to commit felt like he was going to miss out. It's like a kid in Woolworths when Woolworths was open. But if I choose one sweet and I leave, then I'm going to miss out on all the other flavors. It kind of felt like that. So it felt like women were on the back foot. And then what I noticed was the interest I got was from men a good 15 to 20 years older than me. So in my 40s and up, I'm dating men in their 60s. Hot men. They did look quite amazing. But that meant that men my age group, 40 and up, are dating women in their late 20s, 30s. So to meet someone your own age group in your 40s, I found that it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Lucky for me, I like older men. So it was right up my street to date a man 10, 15 years older than me. That's my thing. 2014, let me share some stats. Quickly look this up before we recorded. User data on OkCupid showed that most men on dating sites rated Black women as less attractive than women of all other races and ethnicities. So we are the least popular demographic online.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, that was 2014. And then I thought, is there any new data? Sure, there is. Book was written and published in 2021 called The Dating Divide. And it corroborates that statistic, Karen. One of the quotes I took from the book: online dating benefits white people the most and favors Black people the least.
Wow.
So,
There's so many Black men, though, that when I was on there, so many Black men.
Were they looking for Black women or
wanting Black women? I mean, I assume they did. Like, I don't know. I mean, obviously they wanted who they wanted, but I never felt put on a back burner. Never, once.
The thing is, sorry.
I don't know. No, just I would talk about this before, ladies, but I just don't see it. Like, yes, it's there, but
the thing we have to remember though is that Black men are much more likely to date outside of their race than a white man.
Absolutely.
And they're much more likely to date outside of their race than Black women are. So we've already lost a proportion of Black men to other races. So
there's so many Black men on there, Karen. It is a sea of Black men.
But they're not looking for us, Sarah. I promise you.
But they are. I said to God, if you put yourself on there, they are.
I have been on there. And they were telling me that's not what they were looking for. Some wanted to try white women because of a fetish. Some were like, well, I've just come out of a relationship with a Black woman. Black women are difficult. Black women are cantankerous. Not interested. They wanted to date Latina women. Most of the rejection I got was from Black men. I kid you not.
Was it their age though? Because I think the Black men, maybe it's also because when I was like 39, the people I was to were my age, like they were Black men were my age. Maybe if I had gone on there and I was 55 or something, then I might have experienced a different situation. Because I am a little bit younger than you guys. Maybe it's that.
No, but at the time I was that age. I was 38 to 39, coming up to my early 40s. Got a lot of rejection from Black men. And so for a long time, I internalized that as my look. Because I consider myself, I'm an amazing woman. But then I thought, okay, maybe it's how I look. Is that what the lack of interest is? If I looked like Megan Good or Nia Long or Halle Berry, would that make a difference? I had to consider it. And I asked a few, because I'm that girl, I will ask. And they said absolutely would make a difference.
Really?
Their pool choice is so big.
Yes.
They can date a woman with the tight body, the firm titties, everything that they want. They can actually get it. So for the men coming out of relationships and wanting a young thing, they can get it. So why would they date? For them, the choice doesn't have to be a mother with soft parts of her body, with children, who doesn't have a house, who doesn't have income. The choices are wide ranging. So that was my experience.
Yeah, I would like to corroborate that, because I had a conversation with a man and it was just interesting to hear his perspective. And that's exactly what he echoed. He said, the thing is, men have so much choice. He said, my pool is so much smaller than his. And that's true. And so what I'm finding is that I think women are having to cast their net slightly wider. So perhaps people that you wouldn't have considered before, perhaps dating outside of our race, for example. For some women, that might be an option. It may not be for others.
It's not for me.
And that's fair enough. But I think for some people, I have a friend who said to me, after my separation, she said, find yourself a nice white man.
Oh my God.
But then we're assuming that a nice white man is going to, or that there is a nice white man who can make
exactly.
me happy. You know what I mean? As opposed to any other man,
She didn't even say find yourself a white man. So the idea is that white men are nice.
Exactly. Which
by
is
virtue of being white.
Absolutely. Which is a ridiculous thing to say,
That's
isn't it?
wild.
But I do find,
yeah,
but people do say that. People, I guess, if someone's had quite a few poor experiences of dating black men, I have heard women, say, actually, I've dated white men and it's much better. I guess it's not that they're better. It's just that you've broadened your pond, haven't you? You've cast your net a bit wider. So therefore you've got a few more people you can choose from. I have got 4 sisters and they are all single. Right. And I have grown up with 3 cousins. We sort of lived in each other's houses. We grew up very, very closely together. 3 females, and they are all single, very similar age to myself. And actually, black women are disproportionately single compared to their white counterparts.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. And so it is interesting having this topic, and I would like to hear from any men out there who might want to contribute to this discussion.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not dating outside of my race. I tried once, never to be repeated. It's not for me. So then my pool gets even smaller. So I want to date a black man. It's got to be a black man who is, you talk about the checklist, I suppose, is self-assured, is mature, is over the whole phase, doesn't want to be a community penis, and is quite settled in himself.
I love that phrase.
So then I am looking at men in their late 50s and 60s because I know what my counterparts in their 40s are still doing, and that's brothers and cousins and all of that. It's not easy if you look a certain way. And I'm going to really put that out there because I have had, like I said, anecdotal feedback. But if I were to Photoshop my image on a dating profile and put myself in long hair and a really slim body and looking amazing, I'm telling you, I would get a lot of interest. It is what it is. It's very image driven, very image conscious. Not for everyone, but that was my experience. So dating in my 40s did feel like a special kind of hell, especially because I don't want to do casual sex. Nothing wrong with it. And I'm not judging people who do. I just can't do it. It's not for me. It wasn't then. I'm still not sure how casual I could be. In all fairness, I want to get to know somebody. I will say I got so many dick pics, it was unreal. So the offers of sex were there. That wasn't a problem. It was the relationship that wasn't forthcoming.
Do you think also, sorry, Sarah, before you have your say, I just wanted to ask, do you think sometimes a man will say he wants a relationship when that's actually not what he wants? So the reason I'm saying this is because I've spoken to women who've said, you've got to put it out there from the very beginning. You set the bar, you say what you want. But I have also spoken to men who say a man will say what we think. If you want us to say that we want a relationship, we want long-term, or we want this or that, sometimes they say it and not mean it. And I guess it's difficult to judge, isn't it? I mean, I've heard people say things like, okay, let's start off, let's date and let's see where this goes.
Oh.
Which can also be really difficult. Absolutely, because then what does that mean? I mean, some people, it may be a true statement and they really want to see how you get on. And then maybe 6 months in, you say, okay, let's do this. For some people, it's just a get out clause, isn't it? So I just think it's so difficult. And I wanted to ask you both, particularly Sarah, because I know you talked about being very specific at the beginning about what you wanted, how you feel about that.
Yeah, I think I'm specific with it purely because my relationship with my child's father for 13 years, that started off with the man saying, let's just see how it goes. Let's just go with the flow. And because I was a naive, young 20s something young woman, I just went along with it. And I ended up resenting it because I was sitting in a relationship for 13 years with somebody that wasn't ever committed to any marriage, wasn't committed to, I don't know, I didn't feel in the end, I didn't feel they were committed to me. They weren't, and I think, had I set the bar earlier, then maybe that kind of person, I mean, everything happens for a reason, you know, I'm glad it did happen because I have my beautiful daughter. But practically wise, to cut a long story short, I wasn't going to sit in another relationship for another 13 years with somebody who didn't see me as marriage material. That was for me. I've done that. I've sat in a long-term relationship with someone that wasn't 100% about me. And I'm not about to sit until I'm in my late 50s with another person that's not serious. I needed somebody that was on the same page as me in intelligence, same page as me in career, same page as me in making money, same page as me as like wanting to make investments, helping each other grow. It had to be different. It had to be different. So I always thought this time when I was single before I met my partner now, I'm going to lay down the law about what I want. And if someone isn't interested, that's cool. You know, you do you, boo. You know, that's fine. I'd rather sit here on my own then, because I'm just not got time for it. I feel like I'm 40. So what's the point in sitting around, until I'm like 50 with someone that's not on the same page as me? I don't want to do it. That's just me. I'd rather lay down the law and be single than be with someone that's on a different page than me. And that's, and like Kay said, again, I have nothing against people dating outside their race, but for me, I wanted to meet a black man. That's who I wanted to meet. And I did, you know, and I knew I would too. So I think that's another thing, a bit more like law of attraction. I knew I would too. So I was just going to wait there until I found someone. And even have to wait until I'm 50, you know, I'm glad I did find my partner, but I wasn't about to budge on that. I'm not. So that's me though. I'd be like, I'm the kind of person that says, right, I will meet somebody that has A, B, and C, and I will just wait basically until I find them, and I will find them, and I do. And I've always been like that my whole life. So I know what works for me, and a bit like we were talking the other night at the dinner, we all know at this point what works for us singly. And I know what works for me. I know how to get what I want. So I just keep on doing that formula. And a lot of it is mindset. I think if you think you're going to meet somebody like this, you will. If you think you won't meet somebody, you won't. So that's my view on it. It might seem harsh. It might seem unfiltered, but that's me. That's who I am. I'm not harsh, but you know what I mean, ladies.
No, I think
I'm blunt.
I think it's really good because I think you're very, very clear, very specific. You know what you want. And I think it's right that you go for what you want and not accept anything less, because otherwise you'll be unfulfilled. And I think, that makes complete sense. I suppose for me, it was less specific because I have been married. I was married for a long time. I think what I then looked for was a companion, really. Somebody that I could share my life with, somebody that I could have fun with, I could go out with, do nice things with. But I didn't really want to bring anyone in my home, in the sense that I didn't want anyone to move in, because I still have my daughter at home, and I really wanted it to be a place, I don't know, where she felt, free and comfortable. That doesn't mean I couldn't have had a partner, but I think I definitely put the needs of my children first. And I remember when they were little, they said, "Mummy, by all means, please date, but can you just not move him in?" And I know that you should, we do need to live our lives. We are women, and we are human beings. We're not just mothers. However, I really didn't want a situation where my children were unhappy or they didn't get on with him or that kind of thing. And to be fair, I didn't need anyone financially. I didn't need, I guess, anyone to be a stepdad necessarily, because as my children got older, I felt that was not necessarily what I needed or what they needed. And so, just somebody for myself, really, I think is what I was looking for. And I haven't really thought about whether I would marry again. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but that I wasn't dating to marry, if that makes sense. Which, I guess I'm just in a different place, aren't I? And like I say, that can change.
Have we lost the old way of being introduced by friends or meeting someone at a dance or church or something. It's gone, isn't it?
Yeah,
Definitely.
dead and buried and gone.
Oh my gosh. Do you know, I like the idea that someone can vouch for someone who I'm dating and saying, yeah, that person is who they say they are. And I might know a little bit more about them than their profile and their blurb on their profile states. That feels a little scary to me. I wouldn't go back to online dating now because it feels like such hard work. Sorry, Karen, you were going to say?
No, I was going to say that I had been introduced to somebody through a friend. So my friend is a mental health nurse, and had a friend at work who knew somebody who was single, similar age to myself, blah, blah. So we did actually meet that way. It was much nicer, I have to say, than trying the online, because it was much more organic. And like you say, it's nice when somebody can vouch for this person. I have to say that after meeting a couple of times, I knew that we just weren't right for each other. And what's really interesting about that is that on paper, he met I don't really have a checklist, but if I did have one, he would have ticked quite a few boxes. He was professional. He was a good father. He had already been married. He was quite academic. And so there were lots of things about him that actually should work. I'm in mental health. He was in mental health. And actually it just didn't at all. We did not gel.
No chemistry?
None whatsoever.
All right.
It'd be me. I don't know. But it is, I just think it's interesting. I don't really have a checklist, I have to say. There are some things that are non-negotiable. So if I meet a man and he's not actively in his children's life, that's a no-no for me, because that's really important. But outside of that, I don't know. I'm quite flexible, I think. He needs to be self-sufficient, because I'm not supporting anyone. I'll tell you that. But in terms of, having to have any sort of particular credentials or anything like that, no, I'm not. I don't really stipulate things like that. I think I go off a vibe. So I kind of gel with somebody, or I don't really. And I guess that could be quite shallow. I'm not sure.
I don't think it is, Karen. I mean, I am coming up to 50 now. I'm 50 next year. And I have a very different mindset now as I did in my early 40s, late 30s, in terms of what I want from a partnership, a companionship. I've been married, so I don't want wifehood status. That comes with a lot of additional responsibilities, like cooking, living with someone, sharing your life, so forth, so on, that I don't really feel like I want right now. I think perhaps maybe I'm reliving my early 20s. I want to have some fun now. I want to have somebody I can go out with and come home on my own, and we can have our fun, and it's not complicated with relationship stuff. My children are grown now. They're both young adults. His children, I hope, are young adults. The one thing I would say that would really put me off a man is if he speaks badly of his ex-partners or the mother of his children, particularly if he is calling her names or she's psycho or anything like that. That's a big red flag for me. Because in every relationship, we learn something about ourselves and we grow. And if you're bitter and angry and you can diminish the person who you, I imagine, loved at one point, and can't find positives to say about them, that stresses me out a bit. But yeah, right now I'm looking for light, fun, entertainment, but I don't want a commitment, not anymore.
I think you and I are of a similar mindset in that we are very similar in ages also. And I think where Sarah is just 40, she has a different sort of viewpoint and wants different things. And that makes complete sense because we're at different stages in our lives, aren't we? So you and I have been married, and like you, yeah, I want fun. I even want passion. I do. Yes.
Oh, hell yes. It's time for the passion, for the fun.
Absolutely, 100%. I've earned it. I deserve it.
Sure. Sarah, I'm going to throw a question at you, which could be controversial. Okay.
Go on.
But I wanted to ask if you think your mixed heritage had any impact on your choices online dating. We know dark-skinned women really get the brunt of the rejections and are really seen as the bottom of the pole. Do you feel that your skin tone or your complexion had a positive impact?
I guess I'd have to go back to my experiences when I was younger, I guess. I've mainly always it's always been darker skinned black men that have said these kind of comments to me about, and we've talked about this, the kind of racist comments actually. But when I was in my early 20s, I just kind of heard them and then threw them over my shoulder and got on with it. But things like, oh, nice nose and, my caramel princess and all this other crap. That kind of, they said, a lot of dark-skinned men have said to me they like my skin tone. They do like my where am I from? And I think when I tell them where I am from, because I do laugh, but now, I would say, I think I used to say I lived in Brixton at the time. They're like, oh, where are you from? So, well, I live in Brixton. They're like, no, where are you actually from? I was like, well, I actually do live in Salston Road in Brixton. They're like, no, where are you really from? I said, well, I grew up in Hampshire. So I'm actually I'm from Hampshire. They're like, just stop playing around, So when I've said about my mixed heritage for Gambian and Irish, they're like, oh, I didn't expect you to be that. I'm Jamaican. They didn't expect that. It's like, so what did you expect then? What? So what? That's me. That's the creation of me. But yeah, I do think some of that might have had a lot to do with it, because I have had a lot of dark-skinned black men say things about me. Since I was probably about 16, on the whole dating thing in my kind of 39, 40s, I've not had that said to me, but maybe that is still part of it, because I didn't experience it like you're saying. I've never. And I think if that is it, then that's just, I don't know. I don't know what I think. To be honest with you, Karen, I don't even, I don't know what I even think about that, how I feel about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
we're still struggling with colorism in our community.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put it on you. I hope you don't feel like I'm putting that on you.
No, I don't at all. I just don't know how I feel about. It's funny because I look back at when I'm in my early 20s and what they said in the early 20s, and I think, okay, some of those comments are racist.
Mm-hmm.
But now, when I'm at like 40, I look back at it and I don't know what I feel about it. I don't know. I think surely that just can't be just that. I mean, I'd like to think that people still liked me. I don't know, not just to think about when I was in my early 20s, and I'm rambling now. When I was in my early 20s, I think people were a lot more kind of, where are you from? It was very, what's the word? Childish behaviour.
Mm-hmm.
But now, when I was last dating, I'd hoped by now men would be more mature to be like, okay, I like the look of her, but I actually like the look of her, not just where is she from?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want to say. So in short, yes, I think it has something to do with it. But at the same time, I hope it's not all it was, because that's just crap, basically.
I want to ask a question to you both, ladies. So on the back of what you've just said, Sarah, do you not think, though, that we all date with our eyes? Are we not attracted first to the aesthetics, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So I guess it's to do with what society has told us beauty is, right? So if we've been sold the idea that to look a certain way is beautiful, then I guess that's what people will go for, because that's the notion we've been sold for so long. I mean, this goes back to slavery, obviously, and there's so much surrounding this. But not only are people sort of colorist, but I think it's also sizist.
Yeah, massively.
Yep.
Hairist.
Yes.
But seriously, I've met men who'll say things like, oh, you've aged really well. You look really good for your age, because I am approaching 50.
You do. They're right.
You look amazing. Yeah, you look amazing.
But I mean, like if somebody wasn't my size, slightly larger, why is that a turn off? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is that about? Where does this come from? And I was saying to Sarah, I think that some of it is, I guess, from sort of, I don't know, like primal state, isn't it? Like back in early man, I guess a man would look for his partner who was going to be of childbearing age, with childbearing hips. And I guess, there's a certain look or a certain thing that would attract a man to a woman. So I guess it's a bit similar in that sense, that they're obviously, I don't know, they're sort of attracting whatever it is that they're looking for, in the same way that we do. We have a
our hips have already born children. So all our hips have already born children. So that's not a criteria when you're in your 40s, really, if you've had children. So what are they looking for? I mean, I have not met one man, and I kid you not, since I've been single, who has not asked me, are you going to grow your hair long? I love short hair. I've had my hair short on and off over the years. I have no intention of growing it. None. Yet, even now, men will ask me, are you going to grow your hair back? No, I'm not. So I would say it takes a really secure man to date me with my short hair, with my barbered short hair, which my daughter says sometimes I look like a butch lesbian. Rude. But I love my hair short.
Your hair really suits you.
It suits you, though, Karen. You don't look butch. You're just Karen.
I agree.
There are lots of women who have short hair. I've met lots of women who have short hair now, especially up here. And they might dye the top and things. And that's really common. I think what happens as well is that if a man got to know a woman without looking at her, or could see beyond just the aesthetics, right? I think that they'd have a completely different opinion, because actually, when you talk to someone and you engage with them, they might be funny. They might have, there's all these qualities that people have behind what they look like. But I think it's just initially getting through the front door. And that's what the problem is. That's why I don't like online dating, because it's just a picture, isn't it? And you're swiping. You're literally swiping. Listen to me as if I know.
True. Very, very true. You're swiping, but you don't. Dating, I don't know. I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here, Karen. If it was like a dating in a dark situation, that show Dating in. I've not seen it, but I think that's the same concept, as in you're on a date with someone, you don't see what they look like, and you kind of speak to them or find out who they are. I might be wrong, listeners, but I think that's the concept of the show. If I had an experience, and if I was single and I had an experience where I was chatting away to someone and I got on with them, then the lights go on and I don't find them attractive, I would not date them. There's got to be an attraction. I might, if I found them a little bit attractive, but I love the personality, I go for it. But if I found no attraction at all, then I won't date them. You won't make me. I will not do it.
I have to agree with you. That would be a bit ask to date someone you don't find attractive.
Yeah,
I'm a sapiosexual. Intellect stimulates me. Sexy is definitely a state of mind for me. But yes, I do like good teeth too. And I like a well-groomed man, that I said in a previous podcast. So, even if we were vibing to the max and the lights come on and your teeth are jacked up. Oh my God.
Teeth are gone.
Yeah. I think I would struggle.
I think I might like swagger.
Yeah? You like swag?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Is that shallow?
No, we like what we like.
You know what you like. I think, for my partner now, he likes to dress well. And I didn't realise how much I liked that until I started dating him, because my ex wasn't so much of a dresser as my partner now. And my partner now will go out for dinner or something, and he'll just dress even down to his shoes. I think, I like this. This is what I like.
Nice.
And so there's certain, I know what you mean. There's certain ways that a man would hold himself.
Yeah.
I couldn't be with a very insecure man that was scared of his own shadow. That would irritate me.
Yeah.
I couldn't be with a very shy man, because I'd end up just like telling him what to do or something. You know, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do like confidence. I think confidence is so attractive. And actually, you can find a man who isn't necessarily conventionally good looking, but if he's really confident in himself, you know, he can date anyone. So I do like confidence. I consider myself to be a relatively confident woman. So I wouldn't want somebody who couldn't match my confidence,
Exactly.
I guess. Yeah, that would be difficult. Yeah.
I couldn't be with someone who doesn't read books. That's a big thing for me.
Yes, I agree.
Oh,
He
wow.
likes to read books, not social media, not The Sun or any rag newspaper. Read books so we can have an intellectual conversation. Someone also who's very secure in their identity.
Yeah.
Like I said a few podcasts ago, I'm a Black woman originally from Africa, of course. I know now exactly where from, but born and raised in Jamaica. Listen, if someone still hasn't figured out who they are, you're in your 50s and something, I would really struggle with that. You need to be comfortably in your skin, know who you are, and be intellectually I might send you something I'm reading that's really deep and you'll be like, yeah, got you. Rather than, what does that mean anyway?
Yeah,
so
sure.
yeah, you got to read. Got to read books.
I think the main thing is your man isn't your client. That's why I wouldn't want a man to be my client, like my client. You know, so I'm having to help him with his life, and like you'd support your partner, of course you would, and empower each other as a couple. But I shouldn't have to be coming home from work and doing more work with your partner and trying to hold him up and everything. It's different if someone's going through a difficult period. Of course, you'd be supportive, but you don't want to have it every day, all
the
day.
time. Yeah, it's draining.
Getting with a man that's already struggling with his own self, when you just don't have a relationship. Go to therapy. When you've been through therapy, then you start dating. You know.
Yeah. And I couldn't be with a traditional man who expects dinner on table at a certain time and to meet on Sundays. You'd starve.
My dad was like that. My dad was like, my dad would call my mum and he'd say, I'm half an hour away, darling, he'd say. And she'd say, okay, darling. And then when he came in the door, his dinner would be on the table ready for him. Wow. And she'd say to me, don't speak to your father until he's eaten. You can't speak to a man when they're hungry. And I think she had a point about that. Because there is no point in trying to get anything out of a hungry man. Right. Just let them eat.
True.
You want something out of a man, just let them eat and then ask them. Yeah. So, but she did that. She got his dinner on the table all the time.
My mum did too. Yeah, my mum did too. And she would reheat it if it wasn't hot enough. It was almost infantilizing him. And I think that put me off.
My dad had 3 dishes. Do you remember Pyrex dishes?
Yeah, good.
And my dad had 3. One for the veg, one for the rice, or it could have been hard food, and one for the meat. And he'd have his plate. And it was, so my mum would cook it, and it was my job to serve it. So I'd put it on the table. And this would be every day he got home from work. But actually, I feel as if I've turned into my mother, because I'm actually quite like that. If I'm in a relationship and I'm happy, I like doing that. I actually like doing those things for a man, because in return, I think he shows me his love in other ways. Does that make sense? But I think, that's something that I actually quite enjoy.
The difference is, Karen, is you just said those key words. I would enjoy doing it. It's when it's expected of me because I'm female.
Yeah,
that's when I have a problem with
different.
it.
Yeah. Which is why I think you and I, Kay, are similar in the sense that I wouldn't necessarily want to move someone in, and I don't necessarily want to be married right now. I'm not saying that won't change, but I don't necessarily want to do it every night. What I'm saying is that when we are together, if I feel like doing that, I really do enjoy it. But yes, I don't want it to become a chore, and I'm kind of, been there, done that. That's t-shirt, doesn't it?
So we're near the end of our time, ladies. As usual, final words on dating in your 40s. Any advice, any tips for our listeners?
My tip for the listeners would just be, like I said before, stipulate what you want from the get-go. And also, if you are doing the online dating situation, do expect that. We'll put it this way. I only met one decent person as my partner now in my online dating experience. Just one. Only one.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I talk to a lot of guys, so don't expect in the first couple of days to necessarily meet your soulmate. You have to, it's like I said to the girls, like TK Maxx, you've got to go through a lot of crap to get something good that's your size and that works for you. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to follow that, Sarah, and say TK Maxx makes me so anxious because it's so chaotic. No wonder I didn't get on with online dating.
I'd like to say, as a final word, that I believe that this is the one thing in my life I can't control. I think I can choose my job, I can choose my career, I can choose whether I buy a house. If I don't, lots of things I can choose. I think when it comes to dating and love, for me, I feel like it's in the lap of the gods. I really do think it's something in the universe that will come if it's meant to, and what will be for me will be. And I don't think it's something that I can in some ways, but I really do think it's one of those things that is that is left to the universe and God. I don't think I think if you're meant to be with someone, I think you will. Yeah.
I think my final word is probably a summation of both your points. Completely agree, Sarah. Be intentional about your dating, what you're looking for. And Karen, I'm like you. I will say I'm open. I'll say to the universe, I'm open to someone coming into my life in this capacity. And I expect that someone will, because I am open to it. But I am not going to help the universe out. I'm not going to force it or push against closed doors. I am just going to remain open and see who comes along. I would say as Black women, we deserve all the love, all the joy, all the passion, all the fun and frivolity. And if there's any chance of it coming into your life, be open to it and take it. That's the end of our podcast for this week. We would love to hear from you. What is your dating experience in your 40s? Would love to hear from some men as well. And if you're okay for us to discuss it on a future podcast, do give us permission to. But thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves till we see you next time.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
We are beautifully